Hi all, welcome back to another lecture of DBMS. And in this lecture, we will learn database architecture, layers of database architecture, and in these layers, what are the tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 architecture of databases. So this video is again going to be very much important. So stay tuned and let's start with the very first topic, which is what exactly database DBMS architecture looks like and what does it mean. So architecture is basically designed in such a way that it makes organizing data storage, processing and retrieval of operations efficiently. Means organizing data storage, processing data and retrieval operations efficiently. So we actually design the database in such a way to make all these parameters and fulfill all these parameters efficiently. So what are the things which comes into which needs to be taken care while designing the structure or architecture of database? First is data storage, second is data processing, then data security and integrity, and then at last user interaction. Very first is data storage. So basically data storage ensures the physical data is stored securely and efficiently on the disk or other stored devices. So data storage, which is this part, it takes care that whatever data has been stored at the physical storage or disk should be stored securely and efficiently. Second is data processing. So data processing comes in between the real data and the physical data, database management system and the physical data. So data processing deals with the query which has been sent through the user to interact with the physical data and manipulate accordingly. So it deals with query, execution, transaction management and optimization. So that is the basic job of a data processing. Next is data security and integrity. So this layer also exists in between the DBMS and the physical storage, and it ensures that unauthorized access is prevented and that data remains consistent. So data security takes care that no such unauthorized user should get the access, and they should not manipulate or misuse our data. So data security and integrity does this job. Next is user interaction, which basically interact with the DBMS with their query to get the response as in the form of data. So manages user request responses, supporting multiple user accessing the data concurrently. So user interaction, basically user interacts with this thing where this user interaction is responsible for requests, to send the request to DBMS, get the response from DBMS and send it to client, and along with that it also supports multiple user accessing the data concurrently. Means multiple user can access the data and want the data respond at the same time, then user interaction should be capable of handling concurrent request as well. So these are the few things which needs to be taken care about data storage, processing, security and user interactions while designing any database architecture. Next is layer of DBMS architecture. So basically we have three different kinds of layer of database architecture. The very first is 1 tier, 2 tier and 3 tier architecture. So to meet different requirements for scalability, complexity and user interaction in various types of applications, on the basis of need, we use three different types of single tier, 2 tier and 3 tier architecture. Where single tier, in the case of single tier, all the components like client who requests, server who responds back and database which actually saves the data, all these components of database are on a single machine. An example of this is Microsoft Access database on a personal computer. So single tier architecture where client, server and database all exist on a single machine. Second is 2 tier. In this case, it follows client server architecture where server provides database functionality. So client request and server along with responding to the client's request, it also manages database functionality. Example in this case will be ATM, where ATM machine, which is client, interact with the bank's central database, which is server. So ATM machine is the example of 2 tier architecture. Last is 3 tier architecture. In this case, client, server and database exist on 3 different machines. IRCTC is an example of three-tier data architecture, and where the front-end part, which is browser, which is user interaction. So here user interact with the application server, which talks to the database server. So we interact with the front-end page, which is the client, and that interacts with the server, which do the basic manipulation and logical thinkings, and then server connects with the actual database to retrieve and manipulate the data. So that's how single, two-tier and three-tier architecture layer exists in the database, and how we use on depending upon our requirements. In ATM machine, we use two-tier architecture, whereas in IRCTC or e-commerce website, we go for three-tier architecture, making it more efficient and making capable of holding large amount of data. So now let's learn about tier 1 architecture in depth. So how actually it looks like. The database is directly accessed by the user because client, server and database all exist on the same machine. So here the client can directly access the data because database exists on the same machine. So there is no intermediary layers, and it used in standalone application where the database is stored on the same machine. So it helps direct interaction with the user and database. So the interaction is direct, so time consumed will be very less. Common in personal database like MS Access, but because of the database existing on the same machine, it lacks scalability because it had some limitation of data to store, right? And not suitable for distributed environments. It is not suitable for distributed environments means multiple machines for every single, all the database client or server if existing on the same machine. So it is basically, more suitable for standalone activities. Coming to tier 2 architecture, so here the system divides into two layers. First is client and second is server, and server handles the database part as well. So here clients interact with the database through an interface of an application, and server hosts the database. So first client. So client is nothing but the front end of the application where the user inputs the query what they want to request for. Second comes the server. So when the client has requested for the thing, server, which is the backend database system, process the request. So server will process the request to the database. Separation of concern between the user interface and the data management is that, and like it should be separated in such a way that it should not interrupt the functionality, and also it supports the multiple users. So in case of tier 1, it does not support multiple users. In that case, it is only efficient in a standalone application. But in case of tier 2 architecture, it supports multiple users, handles multiple requests at the same time, and allow concurrent requests. So that is about the tier 2 architecture. Moving on to tier 3 architecture. So it consists of three layers: the presentation layer, the application layer, and the database layer. So here this is the presentation, application, and database layer. So separates the user interface from data management and logic, allowing scalability. So in this case, compared to the other two architectures, scalability is very high. Where presentation layer is a front-end part and it actually interacts with the user. So user inputs the data and requests for the query. Second comes application part, which is this part, and it contains the business rules, logic, and process the user requests. So all the business rules and logic exist in this application part, and it is responsible to process the user's request. Third is database layer, which actually manages the data, store data, and query processing and transaction management is being done in the database layer. So this is the functionality of tier 3 architecture, and e-commerce website like Amazon, Flipkart uses this tier 3 architecture to complete the whole functionality. So that was all about the database architecture, how it looks like, and what are the three different types of database architecture, and in what case we use what type of architecture. I hope you learned. Now let's meet in another lecture. Till then, keep learning, take care of yourself and your family too.